Good morning. Thank you all for coming out on today. We realized last night was pretty much with the inclement weather. We typically like to brief the media as much as possible. That's why we are conducting this news briefing today, pretty much for questions that you may have had overnight that you may need some clarification. Please feel free to ask. Lieutenant Scott is present here with the investigative services. First to my right, Lieutenant Joe Scott, investigative services. I'm Detective Monique Martin, the public information officer. And to my left, Deputy Chief Steve Cole with special operations. As you may know, we experienced a horrific scene on yesterday at 722 Lester, involving the deaths of several individuals, and Lieutenant Scott is going to update you on that.
Good morning. This is a especially sad day here in Memphis, and we did have 6 individuals that were found murdered at the home at 722 Lester just around 6 p.m. yesterday, when police received a call to check on the well-being of the individuals in this home. Inside the home there were 4 adults found dead, 2 males, 2 females. Tragically, there was 2 children inside this home that were also found deceased. Both of those were male children. 3 children were found inside the home suffering very serious wounds, were transported to Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. 1 child has been upgraded to serious condition. The other 2 remain very critical. The homicide investigators, crime scene, spent most of the night working the scene last night. There's not a lot we can tell you. We have not identified anyone positively. We're working on that as we speak. This is going to take some time. There's not a lot of information that we can release about the children that have survived, simply because we are not going to hinder our investigation in any way. We've received a lot of question whether they were shot or stabbed. That's investigative information that we're going to keep to ourselves at this time, so we won't be able to answer that question. The most important thing for this briefing is we need the community's help. These are children that were brutally killed and injured at 722 Lester. We're looking for anyone that has any information. Our time frame would be late Saturday night until we received the call yesterday shortly before 6 p.m. on Monday. We know that there's people out there that have heard things, seen things, know things, and we're just asking for them to reach out and give us that information. It is so important. This is our community. This is a stain on our community, and we really, really, really need the community's help to solve this. Investigators working around the clock, developing information, trying to put together the pieces of the puzzle of what occurred in that home at 722 Lester. We were asked about motive. We haven't developed that yet. Our main focus right now is reaching out for that information, and that's where our media partners come into play here. And I know with your help and the work of the investigators and our partners in the community, we can put this tragedy to rest. I'll entertain any questions that you have.
Sign of a break-in there, Lieutenant?
No sign of a break-in.
Do you think they were killed by somebody who is not in the house, who's not one of the victims too?
The case is under investigation. We believe that the killer did leave the home.
You think it was more than one?
No way of knowing.
Can you explain on the record why you're looking at late Saturday night? Obviously till Monday evening, but why late Saturday?
Well, forensically, and information that we've received when the last time individuals were spoken with, just some things that were inside the home kind of gives us a window of opportunity, and we don't want to limit ourselves. We know the last time someone did speak with someone in the home up until the time that the police were called, so we look at this entire window of opportunity seeking this information from the public.
Didn't a neighbor report some kind of a ruckus on Saturday afternoon over there or something?
We're looking into that, and that's one piece of information investigators are following up on.
Did they report that?
It hasn't been confirmed.
Let me stress on this one, that's a question about a neighbor. Oftentimes when we seek the plea for the public, we understand that someone knows something, heard something, and we can't stress that enough. If you heard something, anything, saw a suspicious vehicle, this is not the time to ignore it. We're asking that you call police, Crime Stoppers, and give us that information that we need. We're working with a blank sheet of paper.
Do you have any idea of the relationship between the people in the house, between the adults and the children?
They have not been identified yet. We do not have positive identification.
Well, I mean, do you just think their children were children of the people who were killed?
We're not ready to release that information.
The children that did survive that are at Le Bonheur, are they old enough to be able to be of any help in describing what happened to you at all?
Well, the children range from 18 months to 10 to 12 years of age. The exact ages are not known, and the identities have not been.
That range is infancy
That'll be
to
part of the
preteen.
investigation.
But they could potentially know something.
That'll be part of the investigation once they're in a position where they can be.
That's all the children, that age range is all of the children,
Yes.
dead and the survivors.
That's correct.
Yes.
Can you say anything about where the 6 who were dead were found? Were they all in one room? Were they?
No, we're not going to release that information.
You said 2 of the children were male. Were the others all female children?
We've identified the 2 deceased children as male. We are not identifying the children at Le Bonheur in any way.
Do you have ages on them?
The range that I gave you is the only information we're releasing at this time. Once we have positive identification on the deceased, we will be able to provide you, and will provide you, more information. I know it's important to know those things, but the most important thing is we need information. We need information. And we have dead children, we have dead individuals right now. We need the information right now. We'll give you the information once we develop it, once we have a firm hand on everything, and we feel like we can. But right now, we're here making that plea to our community partners.
Well, now, you said you couldn't give the cause of death for each individual, and that's fine, but can you just confirm that some were shot and some were stabbed?
And we're not saying anything about that at this time.
Is any indication anything was taken from the house? Was it a robbery?
This investigation is into its infancy. It's not possible to know that yet.
We've heard from several of the people on your force who have worked it for 10, 20, 30 years describe this as one of the worst scenes. Can you go into detail about that, just what it was like? I can imagine walking into that house and the 3 children who were still alive. I mean, just the impact that's going to have on those kids and the officers who had to see this.
Well, it's a tragedy. It's a sad day here, and we'll just have to leave it at that. We can't go into detail of exactly what we did find, but we can say that this doesn't need to end here, we need to go forward, and the community's going to have to step up and help us, because there's people out there that have the information that we don't have.
I think once upon knowing that we had those 3 inside living, to get them the care that they needed, to get the treatment. And you saw as quickly as the ambulance got there, we could get them to the hospital.
Have you all been called to that particular house?
Well, that's part of our investigation, but again, that wouldn't be something we'd release at this time.
Are you ruling out murder-suicide at this point?
We don't rule anything out at this early stage.
What about Cecil, is it Dotson? I think he...
We haven't identified anyone. We know who owns the home or who it's in the homeowner's name, but we haven't identified anyone at this time.
Well, he's identified a renter. Was the person who rented the house there?
We have not identified anyone at this time.
How long do you guys anticipate being out there on the crime scene?
It will be quite some time. I don't believe we'll be through today. It'll be a methodical crime scene investigation.
Can you tell us how the call came into you, or who alerted you, or what alerted you?
It came in as a call, check on the well-being there. Yesterday afternoon.
911 call?
I'm not sure what number they called.
The landlord identified the renter as a guy named Dotson, who one this young lady just asked you about. And you haven't identified anybody in the house. Can you just say, do you know where Dotson is?
We haven't identified anyone. I'm not going to identify him through the front door or the back door.
He's supposed to be in court this morning. What role does that play in this investigation?
Part of the investigation.
Are you aware of any kind of problems at the house between the time that ruckus was reported on Saturday afternoon and the time you went to check yesterday afternoon? I mean, is there anything that you can tell us about?
Nothing that we can tell you at this
No police
time.
calls at that neighborhood or that address?
All that's part of the investigation. That's information that the investigators will go through every call in the area as they normally do.
What about the history of that particular neighborhood, that particular block? Is it a problem area? Has it been in the past?
I haven't done the crime run on that area yet.
Why do you believe that the killer left the home?
Just based on some information forensically and just the way the scene plays out to us, we're pretty confident.
Was the door left open or something like that?
Just I'd have to leave it at how I answered that.
There was a call that went out a little earlier this morning, disturbance over at LeBonner that was supposedly had something to do with this. Is everything okay over there?
As far as I know, I don't have any information. I haven't been advised of anything that happened.
Did you find weapons, what you think the murder weapons at the scene?
That's not going to talk about the evidence today. Let's talk about the community giving us the help we need.
Are you increasing the reward in this? Is it the standard crime?
Well, that's something that will have to be addressed. It has not been addressed at this time.
Right now, it's just the standard crime stuff. It's 1,000.
As of right now, that may be addressed a little later today.
You may have mentioned this, but I couldn't hear it. Are you looking for something specific, or is this one of those cases where any piece of information?
Any piece
no
of
matter
information.
how trivial.
How trivial, how minor, how minute. If you're driving down Summer and you saw something in our time frame that we've given you, it's just north of Summer on Lester. It's an area that there is some high traffic, so we're hoping for anything.
We are going to follow up on any leads, no matter how small. We're going to follow up on it. So we're accepting any information.
How has this case affected you, Lieutenant Scott? Just, we have a lot of homicides, but when I heard about this one, it kind of just, you stop in your tracks and you're like, with the children involved. How is this affected?
I believe it's stopped everybody in this community. And we need to make sure that everybody understands exactly what we're dealing with and how serious it is and how crucial it is that we get that information. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here this morning talking to you, because you are our mouthpiece for this, and it's a partnership. This is our home, our place we work and live, and we need to step up and make this right. And that's why we're here. We don't have a lot of information for you. There's not a lot of details that we can give you right now because it is so early on in the investigation and it's sensitive. So that's our main goal this morning, is to provide you with that information and that plea and give you a time frame.
Lieutenant, you've been with homicide for a long time. How does this compare with some of the other cases that you've had to work?
Well, every homicide's a tragedy. Children, that's our future. Let's don't kill our children. So we'll go forward, and we appreciate your help. Thank you.
One thing on the timeline, you said late Saturday night?
Late Saturday afternoon through the time we got the call.
Hey, Lieutenant, did a neighbor say that they heard gunshots there on Sunday night or something like that, or was that Saturday night that they said?
That's not information. That's part of our evidence. I wouldn't be talking about right now.
When can we expect the next briefing?
We'll have to evaluate it. I'm not going to bring you back and brief you if we don't have anything. We're not going to have standard set up briefings. The next time will probably be maybe with some reward information or identifications.
Can you go back over, you said 2 deceased children that are male, and then 4 adults?
That's correct. 2 male, 2 female.
2 male, 2 female, and how many at Lavona?
3.
Do you know if they're boys or girls?
We're not identifying in any way.
528 cash, is that the...
528 cash or 545-5300. You can talk directly to the homicide investigator.
Really quick, I just got some info that one of the kids died at the hospital. Anything on that?
That's not correct.
Kind of changing the subject, can anybody comment on the home invasions that we had over last night?
Let's conclude this.
All right, thank
Any
you.
questions? Thank you.